You probably think the richest family on Earth is the Waltons. The Walmart dynasty, sitting on roughly $500 billion. They are not even close. The family I am going to show you today is worth an estimated $1.4 trillion, nearly 3 times the Waltons, and here is the part that sounds made up. They do not just own palaces or yachts or the most profitable company in the history of money. They own an entire country, their surname is printed on the map, and by the end of this video, I am going to show you exactly where their money stops and their country begins. If that line even exists at all, I am talking about the House of Saud, the royal family of Saudi Arabia. Around 15,000 people carry the family name, though the real power and the real money sit with an inner circle of roughly 2,000 princes. And the deeper I dug into this family, the more I realized you cannot measure their wealth the way you measure anyone else's. So instead, let me walk you up the 5 levels of what this family actually owns. Each level is bigger than the last, and the top level is not a thing, it is a nation. Level 5, the toys. Let's start with the stuff you can actually see. In 2015, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was on vacation in the south of France when he spotted a superyacht called Serene. 439 feet of floating palace, complete with 2 helipads and an indoor seawater pool. A yacht so famous that Bill Gates once chartered it for a summer. The prince reportedly bought it more or less on the spot for around 500 million euros. That same year, he picked up the Chateau Louis XIV outside Paris, a brand new castle built to look 300 years old, with a moat, gold leaf fountains you can control from an iPhone, and a transparent underwater chamber sitting in that moat. Price around $300 million. Fortune magazine called it the most expensive home ever sold. Then in November 2017, an anonymous phone bidder at Christie's in New York paid $450 million for Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, the most expensive painting ever auctioned anywhere ever. Reporting later tied the winning bid to the Saudi Crown Prince. And according to ArtNet, the painting has spent years hanging in the one place no museum can reach. On board the Serene, 1 man, 3 purchases, roughly $1.25 billion. And inside this family, that barely raises an eyebrow. When King Salman takes a vacation, reporters count the entourage in the hundreds. Entire hotels are booked out, and tons of luggage arrive on separate planes. This is a family that treats a Mediterranean summer the way you and I treat a carry-on bag. And all of that is just level 5. Level 4, the salary. Now it gets stranger, because in this family, being born is a paid position. A leaked 1996 American diplomatic cable spelled out the whole system. Every prince and princess receives a monthly allowance, paid out through a special office inside the finance ministry called the Office of Decisions and Rules. At the time, the payments ran from about $800 a month for the most distant relatives, all the way up to $270,000 a month, every month for the surviving sons of the kingdom's founder. Grandchildren drew around $27,000 a month, great-grandchildren $13,000, and the system came with bonuses, up to $3 million for getting married, or for building yourself a palace. The cable put the total cost at roughly $2 billion a year, and that was the 1990s. The same cables described how some royals topped up their stipends on the side, sponsoring foreign workers who paid them a monthly fee, taking loans from banks and simply never paying them back, selling land the state had granted them for free. The diplomats writing home could barely believe the system they were describing. For a benchmark, consider the most famous royal family on Earth, the Windsors. The entire British monarchy's institutional wealth has been estimated at about $88 billion. That is 1/16 of what this family is believed to control, a lifelong salary simply for existing. That is level 4. But a salary has to come from somewhere. Which brings us to the machine that pays for everything. Level 3, the company. In 1938, after years of dry holes and near bankruptcy, a drilling site called Dammam No. 7 finally struck oil in the kingdom's eastern province. That single well grew into Saudi Aramco, and Saudi Aramco grew into the most profitable company in the history of money. Today, it is valued at around $1.7 trillion. And it sits on roughly 17% of the world's proven oil reserves. In its best year, 2022, Aramco reported $161 billion in profit. the largest annual profit any company has ever recorded. That is more than Apple and ExxonMobil earned that year combined. It works out to more than $440 million of pure profit every single day. Every hour you sleep, this company banks another 18 million. Even in an ordinary year, it clears more than 90 billion. When a tiny slice of the company listed on the stock exchange in 2019, it raised $25.6 billion and became the largest initial public offering in history at the time. So who controls this monster? On paper, the state owns it. But the family runs the state. The dividends flow into the national budget, and the national budget pays the princely allowances we just talked about. Are you starting to see it? Where does the family end and the country begin? And the oil is only half the machine. The kingdom's sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund, now manages around $925 billion, and it is chaired personally by the Crown Prince himself. It owns the Newcastle United Football Club. It bankrolled LEV Golf. It holds stakes in Uber and in Lucid Motors. Its stated target is $2 trillion under management by 2030. Somewhere in the middle of all this sits the family with a hand on every lever. Now everything I have shown you so far, you could almost explain away. A rich family, a big company, a generous payroll. But the next level is where this story stops behaving like economics and starts behaving like a kingdom. Because in 2017, this family did something no other family on earth could do. They arrested their own billionaires. Level 2. The Purge. On the 4th of November 2017, dozens of Saudi princes, ministers and tycoons were suddenly detained on the orders of a brand new anti-corruption committee headed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Among them, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, at the time one of the richest men in the world, and Prince Bandar bin Sultan, the former intelligence chief. In total, more than 200 people were rounded up, but they were not taken to a prison. They were taken to the Ritz-Carlton Riyadh, a 5-star palace hotel that quietly stopped taking reservations and became the most luxurious detention facility ever created. For weeks, settlements were negotiated under crystal chandeliers. And when it was over, the government announced it had recovered more than $100 billion. Cash, real estate and company shares signed over to the state by the family's own members. Officially, it was an anti-corruption campaign, but look at what it proves. In this kingdom, even a prince's private fortune exists at the pleasure of the man at the top of the family. The money does not truly belong to individuals. It belongs to the house, one pot, one family. Which leaves just one question. How did a single family end up holding an entire country in the first place? Level 1. The country. The answer starts with a night raid. In January 1902, a 26-year-old exile named Abdulaziz ibn Saud slipped out of Kuwait with around 40 men, crossed the desert, and scaled the walls of Riyadh in the dark to take back the city his family had lost a decade earlier. It worked. Over the next 30 years, he conquered and united the warring regions of Arabia, tribe by tribe, oasis by oasis, and in 1932, he did something almost no ruler in modern history has dared to do. He put his family's surname on the country itself, Saudi Arabia, literally the Arabia of the Sauds. Today, only one other nation on earth carries its ruling family's name, the tiny Alpine Principality of Liechtenstein. 6 years after the naming, Dammam No. 7 came in, and the poorest kingdom in the region woke up on top of the largest treasure in the modern world. Abdulaziz fathered more than 40 sons before he died in 1953, and every single king since, Saud, Faisal, Khalid, Fahd, Abdullah and Salman, has been one of his sons. Not a grandson, not a cousin. A son of one single man for over 70 years of succession, more than 90 years. One founder, one family, one country, wearing their name like a deed of ownership. So let's come back to the number we started with. What is the House of Saud actually worth? Now you understand why nobody can answer that question. If you count only the prince's traceable personal assets, some analysts land near $200 billion. If you count the family's grip on Aramco's $1.7 trillion, the $925 billion sovereign fund, the thousands of palaces and the land beneath them, you arrive at that famous $1.4 trillion estimate, and some would tell you even that is conservative. But honestly, I think the number misses the point. Because when your name is on the map, your balance sheet does not end at the palace gates. It ends at the border, and the family is not done. Right now, the Crown Prince is pouring the kingdom's money into Neom, a planned desert megacity with a reported price tag of $500 billion, including a mirrored skyscraper designed to run in a straight line for more than 100 miles. Whether it is ever finished or not, only one family on Earth could even attempt a purchase order like that. I have shown you families that own skyscrapers, yachts the size of warships, entire private islands. This is the only family I can show you that owns the ground the map is printed on. So here is the question I will leave you with. If the family is the country, what does it even mean for them to spend money? Every purchase, from a Da Vinci to a football club, is really just wealth moving from one pocket of the kingdom to another. Think about that the next time someone shows you a rich list. Because the richest family on Earth has never appeared on one. If you enjoyed this trip behind the velvet rope, you know what to do. Drop a like, subscribe if you want more entries in the Atlas, and I will see you at the next one.